For that procedure, I've never talked to someone that changed the date so often. She had a date, and then she pushed her date, and then she moved her date, and then she moved her date. And this move must have been like quick, like they moved it and they did it. Yeah, back and forth and back. I've never talked to anybody who had to like move their date so often. Yeah. Good. I don't know. Right, all of us though, right? Calm is still higher than normal, right?
But I realize the thing that we learn is that they're misunderstood. Right. And I was personalizing it because sometimes I feel like I've had a history of being misunderstood. People think you're something you're not. And I hate that.
Yeah.
You
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Is everybody enjoying the most beautiful day I think we've had since I moved to Baton Rouge? Do I get to say that? Like 75 and blue skies and sunshine. It was beautiful. Although I will also say that we were holding out on flipping the heat on, but overnight it got below like 65 in our house. So then we had to flip the heat on. Anybody else you guys have probably had your heat on for a while, is that why people are looking at me like I'm crazy? So. How long does that take?
Not long if you have good sense.
Thanks Ralph, thanks. I guess my sense isn't so good. I've only been here for a year though, right? So we've officially lived in our house for a year because we moved in right before Halloween, because when we first got here we were in our rental, so we are still learning. I was just telling Elise I'm still learning the light switches and things like that. But Eliana, Southerner through and through. I guess it goes faster the younger you are, because she says ma'am and calls me mama and likes to say y'all. And when we went to Alabama for a week last year, we got there and she was like, we can't be here, and then gave the cheer like Alabama boo boo boo, at LSU we love you. Someone can teach me the real cheer later. So she quickly has become a Baton Rougean. But it was so beautiful today, and it is so beautiful that we're able to come together and to celebrate Shabbat. As we start tonight, I'm curious if there's anything anybody wants to share about great things that's happened recently to you or around you. Yeah?
I will. In spite of these incredibly trying times, it is incredibly uplifting when I think of all of, and I'm sure all of you are having this experience too, your close friends who are so supportive and checking on you, saying, how are you, and what doesn't the world get?
Anybody else? Miriam, do I get to share for you that good thing for you is that you have family visiting? Good thing for us. Good thing for you. Wonderful. Yeah.
I have a contract on a house I go on the market on Monday.
Lovely. And you too will get to learn new light switches.
Well, I can sell it.
It's selling the house, even better for you, right? Yes. Anybody else?
The symphony last night was outstanding.
Ah, nice. The guest was a pianist, right?
Yes. He looked like he was about 4'7",
Okay.
but he played like he was 6'5".
All that matters are his fingers, right? Is that how it works? I can play the right hand of the entertainer, that's about it, so. Wonderful. Anybody else? Good things? Julian, you look like you're really trying to think of a good thing. Oh, or you just don't like the way you're putting your keep on. Yeah. I like that style. As we think about all of these good things as we enter Shabbat together, I invite you to open up your prayer books to our candle blessing, page 120, and I'm going to invite Elizabeth. To help light our Shabbat candles. Thank you so much. Amen. Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much. On Friday mornings, I light Shabbat candles with our preschool students and like good 1, 2, 3, and almost 4-year-olds for some of them. When we open our eyes, so everyone try it. We go 1, 2, 3, peekaboo. You do back there. And they were all sitting right here this morning, and so it's such a pleasure. Yes, they don't always listen, and yes, the motions they're making with their hands as they climb up onto these pews because they're bigger than they are is probably, I don't even know how to describe it really, but it so warms my heart in order to share Judaism and pass on these Shabbat rituals with our littlest of learners. Like we've been doing for the past few Shabbatot, tonight we also light a third candle. And this third candle, again, is for all of those people in Israel or those being held hostage who cannot light their Shabbat candles for themselves. So tonight we light a third candle for all of those who aren't able to light one themselves. We continue now in our prayer books, page 127. Page 127, and we read the prayer beginning on the top of the page together. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of wonder, day of rest, day of peace. Let us welcome Shabbat with the words of Lecha Dodi, page 138 and 139. We will sing together verses 1, 2, 5, and 9 with the chorus in between. When we get to that final verse, if you are comfortable, I'll invite you to rise, to face the door, and to metaphorically greet Shabbat to our community. Page 138. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'tiferet ve'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki hi mekor habracha Merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'maksheva techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 Panei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri kiva ore nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 panei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha uvesohola toch emunei am segula boi chala lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 panei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 panei Shabbat nekabela. Before you sit down, since we just greeted Shabbat to our community, let's take a moment to greet each other. I invite you to turn to your right or to your left or across the aisle from you. Wish someone a Shabbat Shalom. I invite you, once you've greeted each other, to return to your seats. Let us continue this theme of welcoming as we welcome the ministering angels of Shabbat with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As a parent of a 6-year-old who likes to wake us up in the middle of the night when she wakes up, I've gotten used to that moment when I hear her walking into our room and I know it's her, but I haven't yet got focus of my eyes. Do you know what I'm talking about? That moment when you're really asleep and you're woken up for some reason and you're kind of in this world of between sleep and awake. You guys understand? Some of you have experienced it, maybe not because a 6-year-old lost their stuffy, or maybe, I don't know, does that happen? But maybe for some other reason, maybe something that was on your mind woke you up, maybe a dream or a nightmare you were having made you abruptly wake up, but there's these moments kind of between being awake and being asleep. Or maybe it's just when you hit snooze in the morning on your alarm clock because you're not quite ready to get up and start the day. And that in-between time, I actually think has some magic, no matter how groggy we are, because we're not yet thinking about the next thing we're going to do. We're not yet thinking about something we had just done that we wish we had done differently. It is that moment, at least for me, where I feel like I am just there. And I wish I had more moments like that, where I wasn't thinking about what's coming or what's past, but I could just be. We begin any of our prayer services preparing ourselves for prayer. We do Lecha Dodi, we sing songs, we welcome Shabbat, we welcome each other to help prepare us for the moments where hopefully we can just be. Where we can put our to-do list aside, we can put the critiques we have of ourselves aside, and we can just be. So we've come to that moment where we transition to just be with prayer. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Inhale something wonderful that you're carrying with you through Shabbat, and attempt to exhale all of the things that are worrying you. And figure out what it means for you in this moment to just be with your prayers. Let us help ourselves transition with Chatzi Kaddish, page 144. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma divrach lirotei v'yamlich malchutei B'chayechon u'vyomechon Uv'chayei kol Beit Yisrael Bagala, Bagala Uvizman Kariv Ve'imeru Yahei Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Olam Me'omaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitroman V'yitnaseh V'yitzadar V'yitzaleh V'yitzalal Shemei Dekudasha Le'elam Min Kol Berchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Damiran Be'alma Ve'imeru. As we turn the page, page 146, I invite you to please rise. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. We read together on page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Sivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. We continue together, page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. As we turn the page and find the words of Shema, I invite you to rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We continue chanting together, page 154. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'kol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, vidibarta bam, vishivtecha b'veitecha, uvleftecha vaderech, ushokbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'chayu letotafot beineinecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzo beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kiroshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzetzi etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Lichiot lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. One of my favorite midrash, I have a lot of favorite, but one of my favorite midrash talks about what might have happened when the Israelites were crossing the sea as it was split. And this midrash tells a story that there were two different types of people who crossed the sea. And it tells about this first group of people who are walking through the dry land of the bottom of the sea with the waters on either side of them, who only stared down at their feet, thinking about all of the dirt and muck that they were walking through. And that was one of the types of people who crossed the Red Sea. This midrash tells us about another group of people who also crossed the Red Sea. And it was the people who, instead of looking down, looked around and saw the waters on either side of them and truly saw the miracle that was happening around them. So why is this one of my favorite midrash? Because I, and maybe many of you, truly relate to both groups of people. There are moments, even when wonderful things are happening around me, that I feel lost in the muck underneath my feet. Then there are moments when I'm able to not care about the dirt at my feet, and I just look up and around me, and I notice the people and the atmosphere and the things happening. But what I love most about this midrash is that according to it, both groups of people crossed the sea to freedom. It didn't matter if you were the one stuck in the muck, and I'm sure we can all think about a time where we felt stuck. Or if you were the one that noticed the miracle happening around you. But as a group, everyone made it to the other side. And I think it's such an important lesson for us, especially in the world that we're living in right now, but also all the time. That we're gonna have moments in our life where we are stuck in whatever our metaphorical dirt is. And we're gonna have moments where we notice the beauty around us and the miracles happening. And throughout our life, we need to be able to experience both. And even if we're stuck in the muck, we will still cross whatever our metaphorical Red Sea is, just like those who are noticing the beauty around them. So I hope whatever you're feeling now, whatever you've been feeling for the past few weeks, whatever you will feel for the coming weeks, that you remember that even when you're stuck in the muck, that you too will make it across whatever that metaphorical Red Sea is for you. Let us together read responsively, page 157 in the middle, and I'll invite you to read the lines that are indented. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, osei fele, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Let us read together, top of page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Would anybody like to share something that they love about Shabbat? What is something you love about Shabbat? Yes, Harrison. It's on Friday night. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, Julian. Open the Torah. Will you help me do it a little later, opening the Ark? He's like, oh no, Mom, am I going to do that? Yeah. Lovely, being with people.
Gets me out of the office.
Nice. Gets you out of the office. Yeah. Just take a pause. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of hard to remind ourselves to hit that pause button, and Shabbat allows us to do that. There we go. Do another one. Meet new people. Awesome. Anybody else? So impressed that nobody said Shabbat dinner or the challah. Two of my favorite things. As we think about all of our favorite things about Shabbat, let us continue to celebrate with the words of Vishamru, page 162. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. We enter that moment of our evening service, which we call either our Amidah or our Tefillah, which means standing and prayer. It is our central section of prayers. It reminds us about our ancestors and where we've come. It reminds us about the strength, the givurah of God. And it also reminds us about our ability to be kadosh, to be holy. We'll begin these prayers together aloud as one community, and I invite you to chant in Hebrew along with us, or I invite you to let your eyes wander to the readings in the page. And then we will pause for a moment of our own personal prayers. Page 164, I invite you to please rise. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufiyah ki tefilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo v'Ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Tavrav Le'Hoshia, Mashiach LaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Kolim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michal Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melech Memit, Umechayeh, invite you now to continue with your own prayers, either using the words on the pages until page 180, or using the words in your own hearts this evening, and I invite you to be seated whenever you wish. Oh, say shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. As we pray for shalom, as we pray for peace, we know there are many people in our community, in our family, and of course across the world who have trouble searching for their peace in this moment, possibly because they suffer illness of body, illness of spirit, or illness of mind. So we turn our prayers now to those in need of healing. Our UJCBR prayer for healing can be found on page 371. As a community tonight, we think of Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Minna Bat Yentl, Mordechai Bendina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Frida Tamaro Bat Liba Bela, Manucha Pesa Bat Cherny Umoshe, Gretchen Haynes, Ruby Smolinski, Jennifer Casson, Vicky Furstel, Storm Matthews, Terry Stern, Judith Bond Brentnell, Kaylee Barron, Zisel Bat Yentl, David Berman, Harvey Schwartzberg, Maxine Cohn, David Leake, Carol Smolinski, Maureen Corcoran, Barbara Stockner, Janet Gerwich, Danielle Riker, John Buddy Hury, Laura Swire, Susan Wasserman, Nevin Rose, Edie Bernard, Shelley Gilman, Larry Zachem, and Cindy DeMarco. If there are others you are thinking of, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so. For those names we heard aloud, those whom we hold in our heart, and all of those in Israel in need of prayers of healing, let us offer a UJCBR prayer of healing, page 371. UJCBR Avotenu Mekor habracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We list people's names out loud in need of healing. But maybe you're feeling like I am right now. Feeling that right now we are all cholim. We are all sick people. Some of us are physically sick because of a medical condition. Some of us are spiritually sick because we have more questions than answers. Some of us are emotionally sick because we are full of anger and fear. But all of us, in some way in this moment, are cholim, sick people. We are reminded every time we gather for morning prayer that there are 9 things we do in this life to enjoy the fruit of the world. Honoring our parents, being compassionate, arriving early for study, welcoming guests, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying our loved ones to their final resting places, being intentional in our prayers, trying to make peace, and of course, visiting the sick. This week in Torah, we find Abraham sitting outside his tent, having just circumcised himself and all of his male family members. Although he is probably in pain, without thinking, he exemplifies the value of hachnasat orchim, welcoming guests. Abraham quickly welcomes the 3 visitors who come to his tent And he behaves in a way that no one would even know that he's basically recovering from surgery. He goes out of his way to make these guests feel welcome. God, though, in this section of Torah, seems to be exemplifying the value of Bikor Cholim, visiting the sick. While the Torah does not specifically mention the mitzvah of Bikor Cholim, it does teach us by example. The first words of this Torah portion are, Vayera Elav Adonai, God appeared to him. What a dramatic statement this is, because everywhere else God speaks to Abraham. God calls on him, but God never seems to appear to him. Rashi, a 12th century biblical commentator, teaches that in the opening lines of this section of Torah, when God appears to Abraham, God appears in order to check up on a man who is healing from his recent circumcision. Later in this Torah portion, when Hagar and Ishmael are lost and thirsty in the desert, God hears the voice of the young man and sends an angel to help him and his mother. God knew Ishmael was sick and shows up to visit him and his mom. In visiting Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael, God demonstrates the holy work of visiting those in need of healing. What does God say to Abraham when he appears to him? God doesn't say anything. God is just there. Perhaps that's the message we all need to hear right now. God was modeling for us the mitzvah of Bikor Cholim, visiting the sick. That when you know someone is ill, you should go visit them. And it's not so important what you say to them, only that you show up to comfort them. We might not currently know all the words to say to each other, but just showing up and being present for each other is what we truly need. Reading the text even closer, we notice that despite the fact that God visits Abraham, the Torah says nothing about God curing him or even lessening his pain. You might know that we sometimes call God Rofei Kol Basar, the healer of all flesh. So it makes sense that we would expect a visit from God to result in a cure, or at least a lessening of pain. So it stood out to me that the Torah mentions nothing of the sort. What's the point of God's house call if not to heal Abraham? Jewish tradition teaches us that the purpose of Bikor Cholim is to provide the patient with a different type of healing, a healing that precedes any cure. We aren't supposed to visit one another when sick, because with that visiting comes some magical cure. We're supposed to visit one another when sick just because we are supposed to be together. In discussing the power of visiting the sick, the Talmud actually tells us that one who visits those who are ill takes away 1/60 of their illness. So let us, in this moment in our lives where each one of us might be feeling like a cholim, let us practice the art of Bikor Cholim. Let us be with each other. Let us call one another just to check in. Let us send an I'm thinking of you text. Whatever it is, let us be present for one another. Over the past weeks since October 7th, everyone has asked me, what can they do? Aside from supporting Israel and calling out anti-Semitism, maybe the best thing we can do is support each other. Now more than ever, we need each other. We are all cholim, and we need to be visited. Shabbat shalom. I'm going to invite us to turn back to our prayer books where we find our concluding prayers. I'm going to invite Harrison and Julian and Shiloh, if you would like to come on up to the ark to help open the ark. Everyone else, we're going to turn to page 586 where we find the words of Aleinu. And as they open the ark, I invite you to please rise. We join together. Aleinu l'shabeach Adon hakol, la'tekidu la'liotzer breishi, shelo asanu kigoyei haratzo, velo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech molech hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shechunotei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz u'moshe v'yikaro b'shamayim yima'al ushkinatu zo Begov he meromim, hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv betorato, vayadata hayom behashebota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha-Elohim, Bashamayim mima'al, ve'al haaretz mitachat ein od. Let us read together on page 591. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'chaya Adonai L'melech kol haaretz vayom hahu yihya Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Friends, you may please close the ark. You may be seated. You're welcome. As our prayers draw to a close this Shabbat evening, we turn our thoughts to our loved ones who are no more. Tonight, we remember two who were taken from us in the past week, Betty Simmons and Lee Kaplan. We also remember one who was taken from us in the past 30 days, Shirley Judge. To their names, we add the names of all of those individuals who passed away during the past year. Lynn Schmulin, Jerry Black, Abraham Hutt, Ronald St. Pierre, Josh Yellen, Celestina Kovacevic, Margaret Shaw, Albert Frankel, Jerry Adams, Stephen Zuckerman, Erwin Shabe, Jeannie Samuels, Robert Berenson, Stacy Summer, Alvin Mykoff, John Carlson, Ruth Ann Miller, John Roheim, and Barry Burton. We also think of those individuals who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit anniversary of death on this Shabbat. Asa Adams, Daniel Barron, Marvin Bender, Sarah Black, Morris Bonadonna, Kay Carroll, Ruth Dampf, Henry Dreyfus, John Dupaquier, Molly Goldich, Frank Holtzman, Jacqueline Hazy, Nathan Kalish Sr., Rosalie Marcus, Eve Novick, Marvin Pizer, Haya Rosa, Janice Rubin, Natalie Rubin, Bernard Saville, Sarah Schwamberg, Annie Tater, Rosa Van Oz, and Julia Weintraub. If there are others you are remembering this Shabbat, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so.
Elaine Garber.
For those names we heard aloud, those whom we hold in our hearts, and all of those whose names we do not know who have lost their life to war, we turn together to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and I invite you to rise. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirotev yamlich malchuteh, B'chayechon v'yom echon uv'chayet dekol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'elam minkol berchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May all their memories be for a blessing, as together we say, Amen. You may be seated as I invite Victor, representing our board, to share a few announcements. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to thank everyone who's joined us here for our Shabbat evening service. I hope you have had a nice, peaceful Shabbat, but thinking about things as well as we talked about. So tomorrow morning there will be Torah study in the social hall and on Zoom at 9:30 a.m., Minyan in the green room at 10 a.m., services in the sanctuary, and on YouTube at 10:30 a.m. Tomorrow night there will be a virtual Havdalah on Zoom with the, I have to say this with a straight face, Saxey family at 7:30 p.m. We're currently collecting donations for our annual turkey train, which helps purchase turkeys that will be delivered to St. Vincent de Paul, where they will be feeding hungry families throughout the long Thanksgiving weekend. On Sunday, join Rabbi Smiley at 2 p.m. to learn about both familiar and unfamiliar Jewish life cycle events that help us add holiness to our lives. Next Friday night, we will honor all veterans during our 6 p.m. service. Again, I hope you all have a nice remainder of your Shabbat, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Victor. Do you want what, some chocolate or some candy?
I'm good.
I always forget to offer it to the grown-ups, but I remembered
Well,
today.
thank you for the offer.
In a moment, we'll join together in Kiddush and in Motzi, but let us end our service this evening once again singing Hatikva, the Israeli national anthem. You can find it in our prayer books on page 678, and I invite you to please rise. Kol od balevav penima nefesh Yehudi homia ulfate mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia od lo avta tikvatenu ha-tikva bat shnot alpayim liotam chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion veRushalayim liotam chofshi be'artzenu Eretz Zion veRushalayim. We turn to page 123, where we find the words of our Shabbat Kiddush. Joel, would you like to hold the Kiddush cup for us this evening? He's like, I don't know. Please, please, please. I think, is there a Kiddush? There should be. Hopefully it has things in it. Page 123. Let us join together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho ve'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lamikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim kivanu v'charta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim. Harrison, Julian, Shiloh, do you guys want to come back up to help with the challah? Shabbat shalom. You were walking away first. If anybody would like to come help themselves to some challah, please do. Shabbat shalom. Joel, thank you for helping. Would you like some chocolate? No, the grown-ups never take my chocolate.
Rabbi.
should teach, Josh. I agree. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
When I was little, I was the littlest of all, and people were running off from me. Somebody always came back.
Came back for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the like you always put the slowest person in front, right? That kind of idea. Yeah, and help them. Absolutely. I love that addition. Yes. Good to see you. Were you reminiscing previous students of yours? Yes. How's school going? Like actual school or like just like the time out? Shabbat shalom. My daughter goes to UMass. Okay. Yeah. So she also goes to campus. Loves. I don't know if that'll change, but right now she loves school. But she's 6, so yes. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for experimenting with the new and I'm sure the probably like eventually security team debrief the new process and just see how I thought it worked fine. I thought it, I don't know.
Like I got to walkie-talkie, he showed me where that, I wasn't sure, and the keys back in.
Yeah, I think once this meeting, like, you guys just had your